What it does tell us is that the military was carrying out serious UFO analysis back in the early 1950s. So all this time when, somebody says, I saw a UFO, and they end up in the loony bin for it, behind the scenes, the military were doing serious analysis. But what these tranches are proving is that all this time, despite what the public claims have been, the US government have been taking UFOs and UAPs very seriously.
Or some department somewhere has said, we need to keep a note of all these things.
Well, that's the thing.
We're seeing we're seeing lights in the sky, objects in the sky, and we don't know what they are. We can only make suppositions. People have been seeing lights in the sky for millennia, and they will attribute it to whatever they happen to believe in at the time. So the parts that would have been fairies or angels. There are even people, evangelicals in the United States, now maybe some of our listeners are aware of some personally, who are saying these are demons from hell, because that's what they believe. And are we doing the same thing, saying it's UFOs because that's what we believe? Hello and welcome back to Aliens Explored, your weekly look at the mysterious skies and all the mysterious stuff that happens around what goes on in those mysterious skies. I'm one of your hosts, Neil Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Stu Jackson. Neil, it is great to have you back.
It's great to be back indoors.
You've been missed, so yeah. But we've been keeping your seat warm for you, not a euphemism. So while you were away, we had this massive Tranche 5 drop. I say massive, there were 41 files in total in Tranche 5, 16 videos, 3 still images, and 22 files. PDF files, as they are, but, written files, as it were. I want us, right off the bat, to address the images, first of all, those 3 images, because I think this will be a very quick and easy part of the tranche to deal with. Did you see the images?
No, I saw the video.
Okay.
Thank you for knitting it all together and setting it to music. Shout out to Darren Mafucci for his wonderful. Is it Searching for Monsters?
Searching for Monsters from the album Lockdown. Yeah.
From the album Lockdown, which you can use without paying copyright fees. To poor Darren. We should give Darren money, I suppose.
I might edit that out.
Yeah.
No, we have full permission from Darren, just to be clear. And yes, thank you, Darren. If ever this podcast makes money, there will be a portion of it going to Darren.
Great.
Yeah. As it is, we're in quite a deficit at the moment.
Credit where credit's due.
That's not what this is about, though. These 3 images. So the 3 images, I will pop them on the screen for the viewers, but all 3 of them are artists' impressions.
Okay.
Which is, I'm going to say, utterly useless.
These presumably the artists did not. They're not giving an impression of what they saw themselves, but as it was described to them.
Yeah, from witness statements.
Okay.
Yes. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not photographs. It's not stills taken from a video. It's nothing. I mean, artists' impressions can be useful in certain cases, but to be honest, in something like the PURSUE files, and for anybody new to ufology, PURSUE is the Presidential Unsealing. Oh God, I always get this stuck. Presidential Unsealing. No, I've forgotten.
Residual. Something?
Not residual. It's something UAP. Yeah. Anyway, I'll put it on screen.
Okay. We should remember this, really.
I really should. I mean, I just think
talk about
it's the Trump dump. So if anybody is new to the topic, so President Trump has instructed the various departments of government to release all their UAP UFO files, and this has been the 5th batch of that release. I mean, I don't think we're getting all of it. I don't think we're going to get all of it, but we're getting some things.
I mean, are we seeing anything? Because I didn't see anything. Have we? Did you notice anything in this latest dump that we haven't seen before? Anything that moves on the conversation?
So it's I want to say yes and no. On the face of it, it felt very disappointing, very underwhelming. The videos, like I say, I did take all the videos and presented them without comment in a separate video. I'll put a link on screen for that for anybody who wants to go and watch the videos.
I'm sure our viewers do. You want to see what
absolutely. There were 16 videos in total. They were interesting, but nothing I could get excited about.
Nothing we haven't seen before.
Nothing we haven't seen before. We might not have seen those specific videos before, but yeah, it's we saw objects flitting about a screen in a forward-looking infrared FLIR sensor. We saw orbs flying over somewhere in the Middle East. We saw objects moving in and out of the water in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, that's about it, really.
Objects or possibly lights, insubstantial objects that don't make a splash.
Well, no, and that's quite interesting in of itself. But we have seen that before in other videos, so there was nothing new in that regard. But the fact that we've seen it, I mean, you're saying lights, to see a dot of light moving above the water and then into the water that the camera, or the sensor rather, is following. And bear in mind, most of these are heat detection systems, so it only shows if something is hot or cold. So it sees something moving. So I think we can reasonably rule out light. A dot of light doesn't hover above the above a town or or above the ocean and then go into it.
So like a laser pointer won't make a splash when you point it at water.
It won't, but if you put a laser pointer across the ocean, it's going to move up and down with the waves, whereas this is moving in a perfectly straight line.
Yeah. Do you think you've seen anything more compelling than, was it 2017, the Tic Tac video?
The Tic Tac was a great video.
Is that the high water mark that we never?
Not more compelling when taken in its own right, but I think the fact that we're getting more videos, more of the same, means that this phenomenon, for a start, it's not just one. If there is just one video like that, you can say, well, that's just a one-off. It's an aberration. But if we're getting multiple videos, if we get to the point whereby we've got dozens, even hundreds of these videos, all showing the same remarkable attributes, then that further legitimizes the phenomenon.
Does it though? I mean, we're seeing something, we're seeing lights in the sky, objects in the sky, and we don't know what they are. We can only make suppositions. I mean, people have been seeing lights in the sky for millennia, and they will attribute it to whatever they happen to believe in at the time. So the past would have been fairies or angels. I mean, there are even people, evangelicals in the United States now, maybe some of our listeners are aware of some personally, who are saying these are demons from hell. Because that's what they believe. And are we doing the same thing, saying it's UFOs because that's what we believe?
Well, when I say it legitimizes a phenomenon, I don't mean, it explains it. What I mean is further evidence that there is an actual phenomenon that exists.
Yeah.
It's not just a random camera artifact or light bouncing off Venus or,
But that's why the term UFO has been discarded in favour of the more broad, unidentified, anomalous phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's not. We're not saying this is an object of any kind.
That's it. It's a more accurate term because, flying object in particular, that's a very specific explanation of what this is, and we don't, as the general public, as yet have that evidence to support that. But UAP, it's definitely there.
Yeah, it definitely qualifies as UAP. I mean, should we just say as UAP rather than as a U? It's not a UAP, it's UAP phenomena, isn't it? It's plural. It's some more UAP.
Yes, but it could be multiple phenomenon.
There was also some what looked like daytime footage showing some kind of object in the sky. I mean, why is the footage always such poor quality? I've seen better quality footage from the Battle of Britain, in old World War II documentaries. Why can't we just get a clear image?
So I'm going to address both those points simultaneously. We don't know it was daytime. It appears daytime because what we're looking at is not camera footage.
Okay.
We're looking at sensor data. Now, and the most common one that we're seeing is FLIR, forward-looking infrared. So what this sensor system does is it looks at something and it only shows if something is hot or cold, and it shows the variation between the two. Now, sometimes black is cold and white is hot. Sometimes it's the other way round. White is cold and black is hot, which is where getting some of the metadata along with these videos would be incredibly useful. Because if you see a white object moving through the sky, we can usually work out by looking at the landscape and surmising, water's likely to be colder than land. So if it flies over water and the water's darker, then black is cold. But that's a supposition. It's not actual proof. But it's a reasonable one, but yeah.
But there was one clip of what looked like an object sort of staying still in the sky. It was a sort of like a cylindrical shape.
Oh, was that the FBI one? I
think so, yeah. And they said it was they gave its dimensions. They said it was about a metre high? It's quite small.
Right. I'd need to revisit that footage specifically.
Yeah. But again, it was very grainy quality, and that's not just sensor data. That's just very poor quality.
Yes.
Camera.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so with footage like that object might be a tiny, 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 tiny speck on, a phone, for example. What they've done, they've zoomed in massively. Now, you and I, we use our phones to record things all the time, particularly self-tapes. But if you said, oh, hang on, is my... are the hairs on my moustache, are they straight in that shot? And you zoomed it in massively. It'd be pixelated if you zoom in enough. So that's why you're getting this effect. Is it is a tiny object in the distance when it's recorded on the phone, but it's been zoomed in and blown up so that we can better see it.
All very mysterious.
Does that help explain what it's? Because I also want to address one of the videos. It looks like it was shot on a phone, looking at the screen in wherever it was that they were seeing the information. Surely sensors, like military sensors, have the capability to record the images as they're going. You don't need to get your phone out and read, and video rather.
While you're trying to fly your F-35. Hang on a sec, I put the joystick between my knees while I get the camera out.
Yeah. I mean, I get the impression this was in an office. But we don't know. It might have been on an F-16 because all that data is redacted and removed, which, again, utterly unhelpful. I get the need, to protect national security, to, not give information about how advanced the technology being used is. I understand that, but they don't need to redact every single piece of information. And they are doing. And that's, annoying. So, yeah, the videos, unimpressed. But it does further, it further legitimizes and normalizes the whole phenomenon.
Yeah, people go, I mean, what's going to happen when they release Tranche 6? People just say, oh my God, not another one. Okay, I'll skim through it, see if there's anything I haven't seen before. Lights in the sky, blurry objects.
And when people start doing that, that's when they'll start slipping the more interesting stuff in.
Do you think that? Do you think they've got more interesting stuff?
Oh, they have way more interesting stuff than this. Absolutely, 100%.
Well, I know David Grush says so, but because he's seen it, but he can't. But he can tell us about it, but he can't show it.
No, I'm utterly convinced that there is far, far more interesting stuff out there that they've got. I mean, the fact that they've got the unredacted videos, with the date on it, that in itself is more interesting.
So why is it being released in these tranches? Is it because they have to go through every little bit of it and take out anything that they don't want to really reveal and until they're just there? And I guess there's an approval process as well, because there's probably someone quite high up saying, yeah, that can go out. So, no, send that one back. It's got some information. It's got some metadata on it.
100%. That's exactly what is happening. And also, if you take them on face value, they are digging through their historical files to find things.
Surely they would have stuff dating from the dawn of the UFO age, in the 1940s, where obviously it wouldn't be sensor data. It would just be cameras.
Well, we don't have camera footage from them, but we do have reports. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that brings us very, very nicely onto the files. And there were some very, very interesting files. The first one I want to mention is DOW UAP D100. It says from the Department of War. This is a report from Project Sign, so 1947 to 1948. I think it's the most historically important part of this release. It was very, very early in the UFO era. I think the report sort of goes from the back end of 1947. Now, interestingly, there was something else that happened in 1947.
Well, was that the Roswell crash?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
the camera's just cutting off the headline.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roswell crash. That was in July of 1947. Or June? No, July. Anyway. So Project Sign comes in at the end of that year. It was basically established, end of 1947. In this report, so this is a 250-page report. I am not going to go through it page by page. It is there for our viewers to look at. But
if one of our viewers wants to go through it page by page, then we'd be very interested to hear what you think about it.
I've looked through it page by page. I'm just not going to go through it now. So there are about 180 incidents studied in this. There is a really striking statement from 1948, and I'm going to quote this directly. The conclusion appears inescapable that some type of flying object has been observed. Some type of flying object. Inescapable. That was Project Sign. That was 1948. So the government, back nearly 80 years ago, recognised that there is a legitimate, craft that they were seeing.
But with no pictures or footage of it, just an eyewitness account.
Multiple eyewitness accounts, yeah. Obviously, it was immediately followed by uncertainty. But the reports, so where we're talking about multiple reports, they included discs, cigars or torpedo-shaped craft, spherical object, balls of light. Now that is remarkably similar to the modern UFO or UAP phenomenon. Very, very similar things. We now have additional things. We have triangles being seen. We have the jellyfish being seen. But ultimately, most UAP can come into those four categories. Investigators did look at balloons, astronomical phenomena, aircraft. They considered whether people were hallucinating or trying to hoax. They considered if this was foreign technology. And they couldn't come to an answer for a lot of these things. And some of it was explained, as will be the case. If we see a light in the sky, you and I out walking one night, there is a very good chance that that is not an unknown object.
No.
Just because we can't identify it, it could be a satellite, it could be a star, it could be an aircraft.
An aircraft, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that it could be. And most cases, quite rightly, get explained as something mundane. But it's the ones that can't be explained. And this is where we come back to the whole PURSUE files. For me, what makes it so interesting, like I said, 41 pieces of evidence in this latest tranche. This is where the government and its various departments have looked at it, investigated it, and have been unable to explain it. Now, you'd think, if it was something obvious like say, a laser pointer, you'd think that would be readily explainable. Now, I'm not saying all of these aren't explainable. Some of them will be mundane things, but there's enough that means there's a lot of things that are not mundane.
Isn't there also the possibility that these could be completely natural phenomena that we just don't understand yet? there's stuff. No, I mean, maybe there are scientists looking at it, but is there some phenomenon that causes lights? I mean, there wasn't a report about we've mentioned it before about quartz becoming compressed deep underground causes lights in the sky, and that apparently there were lights in the sky just before the Boxing Day tsunami in 2005 in was it the Indian Ocean, or the Southern Ocean?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and of course that led to speculation that actually it was a UFO that had come to. They had to start the earthquake to correct a wobble on the Earth's orbit or something. So we had to just wipe out thousands of people just to keep the planet on track.
There were a number of theories around at the time. I remember, some people thought it was there were time travelers coming to look at this historical event ahead of time. But yes, quartz under pressure, from what we understand, produces these balls of light.
And do they know why? And they say, okay, we put quartz is under pressure underground. There's a tectonic plate shifting or something. There's quartz there. There's lights in the sky, but do they understand the actual? That's because this happens, which causes this, which causes this, which causes, and then you've got lights in the sky.
The mechanics of it. I would be surprised. That's okay.
Yeah, the mechanics of it.
To be a very short podcast, if we just got all monosyllabic. I would be very surprised if there isn't somebody who can explain it. I can't. I'm unable to explain it.
But we're in the realm of we're in the realm of geology rather than.
Geologists and physicists say it's a thing, so I'm happy to accept that.
And what else is something that is just a thing?
But that said, one of the things that never ceases to amaze me is how we don't understand we understand how gravity works. We don't understand why. We don't understand what causes the force of gravity.
Well, Albert Einstein overturned Newtonian physics, didn't he? Newtonian physics says it's a force, which gives you a good working model of gravity. It's you can use that to do stuff. But Albert Einstein said, is it a curve in the space-time continuum or something like that? We get into quantum mechanics and physics and quantum physics and. Yeah.
Well, we know it as a force. We know it exists. It's measurable. It's there.
Or it creates a force, yeah.
The fact that we're sat on chairs and not floating about, means it exists. But physics, as I understand it, is unable to explain the why. So coming back to your question, could this phenomenon be just a natural force that we don't understand? Absolutely, yes. It may be multiple. It may be multiple things. This is one of the things that I often wonder about the whole UFO UAP thing. Is it might not just be one thing, and I don't just mean
it's not.
Might be aliens from this planet and this planet. It might be. I get caught up quite often. A lot of our regular viewers will know I'm very big on crop circles, and it gets lumped in with the UFO, the UAP topic all the time because a lot of people have theorised that it is caused by UFOs, and certainly ball lightning has been seen in the vicinity of fields where crop circles have later appeared. And that's documented, that's registered.
Not to say one causes the other.
Absolutely. Or that correlation is not necessarily causation.
No, or what causes crop circles also causes ball lightning.
Yeah. And like you said about the quartz under pressure, that causes not ball lightning. Well, I thought it might be. I honestly don't know, but it might be a similar phenomenon. It might be a completely different phenomenon that causes a similar effect. Yeah.
Is
I would
ball
like to
lightning
say.
a real thing, or was it some sort of mariner's tale that sailors on these old wooden sailing ships would talk about this ball of lightning that would fly around the ship and they'd all have to make sure it didn't hit them? And...
No, it's very well documented and observed.
Okay.
Ball lightning. Yeah, and plasma, I think they call it now. Although that's getting into the whole UAP topic, because now you have people like David Grush talking about potentially intelligent plasma-based entities, I suppose you would call them, plasmoid intelligence.
Okay. What you mean,
Wild.
unearthly plasmoid intelligence, or
Might be earthly.
hmm.
Might be earthly.
Yeah.
Might not be. Might be interdimensional. Might be. Could be anything.
Because, I mean, don't you think it's fair to say that we would never be able to visit other planets with our current level of technology, or even the way we approach it? I mean, we just send a rocket up into space and get into orbit, and there's all sorts of things they can use gravity to accelerate it. And isn't Voyager 1, which was launched in about, was it 79 or 80? It's travelling at about for some reason the figure 67,000 miles per hour is in my mind. And for comparison, a high velocity rifle bullet from a modern assault weapon has a muzzle velocity of about 3,000 miles per hour. So it's going many, many, many times faster than a bullet, travelling at cosmic speeds. And yet it's estimated it would take tens of thousands of years to reach our nearest neighbouring solar system, Proxima Centauri. 20,000 years or something like that. I think that's the figure.
That sounds right. Yeah, I've got to say 6,000-7,000.
6,000-7,000. That's not, they're not, kids aren't allowed to say that in school, aren't they? They're not allowed to say 6-7.
But some schools have prohibited it because it's too distracting.
Yes. Good luck teaching them to count then.
I think they can use the numbers 6-7. Just but yeah, I mean, I can't confirm the numbers that you quote him, but yeah, that sounds very similar to things I've heard. Absolutely.
Or round up 2/3 as expressed as a decimal. 0.666. Eventually, you're going to have to say 7. 6.
Yeah. One thing, just to because of who I am, that I have to pick you up on. It might not be the level of technology that we have; it's the level of technology that is publicly known about. Because if we have reverse engineered, alien craft and interplanetary craft, we might well have the technology to go to these places easily.
We might do. I mean, if the United States, being the kind of regime that it is, if it had reverse engineered alien technology, wouldn't its first use be as military technology? It would be a propulsion system for a military jet or a missile, not a commercial airliner or even a space exploration. It wouldn't go to NASA. The Pentagon wants this.
We can go quite a long way down the speculation rabbit hole with this, and it's one of the theories about why the information is kept secret from people like the president. Is so that it's not misused.
There's this old adage that when I worked in security, and it applies to IT systems, that the more people have access to a system or technology, the more useful it is, the more it benefits people. But also, the less secure it is. The most secure system is one that nobody has access to, or theoretically doesn't exist. That's really secure. So we've got this technology, but we've got to keep it so secret we can't use it or develop it, because that would mean people having to know about it.
Well, especially with the amount of energy required for these things. So, getting into sort of 0 point energy, which is basically you're pulling energy out of the air, out of thin air. And the theory is that with 0 point energy, the amount of air in a coffee cup, I'm saying air is a substance, the amount of space in a coffee cup with 0 point energy, if we were able to harness that, you would be able to boil off the oceans of the world entirely.
Wow.
You can produce that much energy. So oil and gas billionaires might not be too happy about that getting into public hands.
Well, unless they invest in it, I imagine a lot of them are thinking about diversifying.
Well, the whole point about free energy would be that it's free.
I'm sure they find a way to make it not free. I mean, that's hardly in the spirit of enterprise and capitalism, is it?
Absolutely.
Give away stuff for free.
Maybe that's what they're working on at the moment. Now, coming back onto this tranche then. So you mentioned about earlier films. One of the files that we got, DOW UAP D098, wasn't an actual film, but it was the analysis of UFO films taken in Utah in 1952 and Montana in 1950. This was a proper, serious technical analysis from the calculations of UAP. From the calculations, they managed to get some extraordinary apparent speeds and accelerations, although the calculations did rest on certain assumptions, so less definitive. But genuine attempts at see if I can say this word correctly. I've made a note of it, so I should be able to. Photogrammetric analysis. Photogrammetric analysis. So basically, it's proper in-depth analysis of the footage, not just somebody watching it and making assumptions. The Utah one was 16mm colour. It was, however, very physically degraded, so they duplicated it in order to preserve it. But analysts studied the object positions, apparent formations, brightness and density, and movement on a frame-by-frame basis. The objects appeared to be broadly bluish-whitish in colour. And calculations generated extremely high apparent speeds and accelerations, but the distance to the objects wasn't independently established, so I don't know how heavily we can rely on that. But yeah, while the report doesn't give us new information, stuff we don't already know, what it does tell us is that the military was carrying out serious UFO analysis back in the early 1950s. So all this time when, somebody says, I saw a UFO, and they end up in the loony bin for it, behind the scenes, the military were doing serious analysis.
In 1950, wow.
1950s, and with Project Sign, 1940s.
Yeah, when most of the US Air Force would have been prop-driven. I think pretty much all of it. It was only when they got a nasty shock when they went to Korea and found that the North Koreans had access to, Russian pilots and MiG-15s, jet planes, and that the British had arrived with jet planes as well, but America had been slow to develop that, so they're looking at this technology, but not really.
Yes.
Not really getting into it.
The other file that really it stuck in my mind a little bit was EOP. So this was a new one for the tranches. The Executive Office of the President.
Wow.
This department came from. EOP UAP D001. Now this was it was from Brazil, a crashed sphere, and instantly my mind went to the Booger spheres that had been found. But this was a much, much bigger thing because it also came with a body. It's a good demonstration of why these things have to be read in context, though, because the one document contains this amazing crashed object story about a sphere that crashes and they find a body inside it. However, when the authorities go out of their way to examine it, this is in 1963, Brazil, in November. The radio report claimed a metallic sphere fell. It excavated a 4-metre hole. They reported that it had thick glass windows, a human body inside wearing heavy clothing, and strange, undecipherable inscriptions, which sounds instantly like your classic UFO style thing. However,
say human or humanoid body inside it.
They reported a human body, but wearing very heavy clothing, so really hard to tell. However,
the kind of heavy clothing you need to put on for space travel. It's cold out in space.
Here's where the context really matters, though. The US State Department goes out. They investigate. It appears that nobody had actually seen it. Journalists were rushing around trying to investigate it. This thing that nobody had seen, that the Ministry of Aeronautics denied existed. The US consul's assessment was that this was a completely fabricated story. So it was interesting.
It was quite compelling up to then.
I know, and that it was an interesting inclusion into the tranche, I thought, because so far we've had lots of reports about, well, yeah, this has been investigated and we haven't come to any conclusions, but here's one that actually they did, but it was still in the records as UFO, UAP.
Even though it turned out to be nothing.
Yeah. Like I say, mundane explanations are a thing. We need to acknowledge that. We need to recognise it.
Did they know where the story came from? Were they able to trace it to its origin?
I can't remember reading that in it. It was reported on the radio, but whether that was just somebody rang into the radio station and said, "I've just seen this sphere fall from the sky."
Okay. Can you imagine? Yeah, the State Department sends its investigators out at great expense. They go all the way to Brazil, and no, there's nothing here. Well, they just said, "No, it's a complete waste of our time." Stomp back onto their plane and go home. What do they say? Well, no, you've wasted our time and money. We want to find out who did this.
I don't know if they actually went out to Brazil.
Okay.
They might have done all their investigation over the telephone.
Maybe, yeah.
So
that would make more sense.
It would. Now, Tranche 5 altogether, obviously, it's not, here's conclusive proof of extraterrestrial visitation or anything like that. But I think whilst there was nothing really, really exciting about it, it does establish even further that UFO reports were not readily dismissed. They weren't ignored. It reveals a much more interesting history in which, yes, some cases are explained, some collapse under scrutiny, but some also remain genuinely unresolved and were taken seriously by the government and have been for nearly 80 years.
Do you think if they showed it on a graph, they showed that initially, especially after all the Roswell business, that there was a great interest and investigation of these things. And as more and more of these things turned out to be nothing at all, the interest would sort of drop off and then maybe pick up again as a few more verifiable things appeared.
I think so. You've got two things happening simultaneously with the public. With the government. On the one hand, we now know they were doing this serious investigation into it, but publicly, the ridicule that was put to anybody who even claimed, I saw an object in the sky that I can't explain. Ridicule, instant ridicule, lives destroyed. People, lost their jobs, lost their livelihood for speaking publicly about having seen something they can't explain. It's not, and obviously there are allegations and claims of much more serious consequences than that for people who stuck to their stories. Intimidation, is another aspect. But what these tranches are proving is that all this time, despite what the public claims have been, the US government have been taking UFOs and UAPs very seriously.
Or some department somewhere has said, we need to keep a note of all these things.
Well, that's the thing. Multiple departments, the Department of Defense, or Department of War, as it's now colloquially called, the FBI, CIA, the Executive Office of the President, the Department of State. There was a Department of State file in this as well. In fact, the Department of State, yes, was part of the same
this suggests
investigation in Brazil.
Yeah, all this information isn't just sat in a drawer somewhere waiting. Okay, let's send out the next tranche. Okay, we open drawer number 6. That it's all being pulled in from various obscure places and having to be evaluated and then given these new designations. I mean, Department of War is a very new. When did it become the Department of War? Was it last year?
Something like that. It is a very, very recent thing.
Certainly this Trump term, isn't it? So couldn't have been before. No, in fact, when did Trump win? 2024, he won the election, didn't he? So he only came into power in 2025. So it's, since last year, sometime it's become the Department of War.
Yeah. Only colloquially, though. That's not its official term. No, so a government department can only change its name through Congress. The whole Department of War thing was Trump basically giving permission for the Department of Defense to be known as the Department of War. It's still officially the Department of Defense.
Okay, because it was previously the War Department, wasn't it? The WD. I don't know when that
the
ended.
Second War, that 1940s, 1930s.
Well, in Britain we had a Ministry for War.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we still had one into the 1960s because of the Profumo affair, where John Profumo, who was the Minister for War, shared a call girl with a KGB agent, Christine Keeler. That was the big scandal. So it was still the Department of War then. So
there's a great movie called Scandal about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one for our viewers to watch. There's no UFOs in it, though.
No.
Or are there?
Well, in the background, you can see one flying over. Like the, what's that painting, The Fall of Icarus? Have you seen that? It's basically just a rustic scene of people getting on with their lives in the country. And then in the distance, you can see Icarus falling into the sea.
There we go. So, after 80 years of investigation, the US government, the Department of War, whatever you want to call them, the FBI, the CIA, the Executive Office of the President, the Department of State, the Department of Energy, all these government departments are still investigating the phenomenon and still have cases that they cannot explain. I think that is so telling in itself. And I know I keep going back, I keep saying the same thing, but you look at where we were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, where, even more recently, when we started doing this podcast, so this was post the Tic Tac and Tumblr and GoFast. It was after they had been publicly released and the Pentagon had verified that they were genuine. After that, when we started doing this, and I would say to people, "Oh yeah, I do a UFO podcast," some people would laugh and find that funny.
They still do.
I think it's happening less now. I get people if I tell them it, and they'll quite often come to me quietly almost and say, "So is it real then? Is it an actual thing?" So I think minds are changing, opinions are changing. Your opinions changed massively since we started doing this.
You think? I still, yeah.
No, scepticism's good. Scepticism's healthy. Like I said, most explanations are going to be mundane, and it's important to remember that. And we need to look for those things first. But yeah, you're much more open to the possibility now, I would say.
Yeah, certainly accept that there are things in the sky and we don't know what they are and we can't explain them. But yeah, I think it would take something to convince me that the American government is sitting on actual contact with beings from other worlds. As Carl Sagan famously said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence to back them up. And it's more than just claiming that you've got evidence, you have to present it. So, at the moment, in the 5 tranches that have been released, I haven't seen extraordinary evidence. I've just seen more mystery.
That's the extraordinary evidence comes in Tranche 9.
Okay.
I don't have any inside information, just to be clear.
So when do they release Tranche 1? It should be next year sometime, shouldn't it?
It's been what was it? Between 2 and 4 weeks between each one. So, how many months we got left? To back end of the year? If it keeps going, this is the thing. They haven't said, here is a regular schedule that we'll be putting them out. We don't know when they're going to be released. In fact, with Tranche 5, I had just spent a couple of grueling days in London, and I got back really late at night. Like, it was gone 10 o'clock. I'd done like a 15-hour day at that point. My phone starts going absolutely mad saying, Tranche 5's just been released. I'm like, oh, God. I knew I needed to get something out, so that's why there's that video with the without commentary. So yeah, there we go. Right. So, anything else? Anything else stand out about the whole tranche for you?
Not really. No, just so it was a bit disappointing. That you're watching this thing. It's set to nice music, which makes it a lot more watchable. But basically, you're just watching tiny little lights going around on the screen.
Yeah. No, that's it. And without knowing what this movement the sensor's making or anything like that, it becomes, really hard to gauge. But it's not nothing. It is more of the same. But the more this happens, the more we normalise, the more legitimacy, like I say, it gets. So that's my take on Tranche 5. Nothing profound, nothing that interesting, but definitely more legitimacy to the whole phenomenon. That's my take.
Okay.
Right.
Certainly if we're getting laughed at less, then that's a shift.
I don't know, if they're laughing at us, they're not laughing at other people. So bring it on. Fantastic. Well, yeah. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. And join us next time when we'll be discussing more weird and wonderful stuff from the whole phenomenon that is ufology or uapology? No. Wapology? sounds like I'm saying sorry, you know. Anyway, ufology, we'll stick with that for now. Until next time, keep watching the skies. Take care.
Catch you later. Bye bye.